welcome to our special show to mark 12th June, World Day Against Child Labour. I'm Gargi Rawat. On this show, we're highlighting a shameful reality of India, the reality of child labour. You may be shocked to know that India has over 10 million child labourers. Child labour deprives children of their childhood, their potential, their dignity, and is just morally wrong. 2021 is the International Year for the Elimination of Child Labour. This was unanimously adopted in a UN General Assembly resolution in 2019, and member states must take immediate and effective measures to eradicate forced labour and modern slavery and human trafficking. Now, if India wants to be counted among the world's top nations, we must end the scourge of child labour. The pandemic and economic upheaval has further compounded this crisis, but joint decisive action can reverse this trend. The Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation, through its Justice for Every Child campaign, has been fighting this evil and has rescued 1 lakh children. So far, there are partners in this campaign. We will be joined by Nobel laureate Kailash Satyarthi. But first, here's a look at this report that highlights the gravity of the problem and how COVID has rendered children more vulnerable to labour, trafficking and sexual abuse.
Nimble fingers at work at this dingy sweatshop. Almost for 16 hours every day, non-stop without a break. This isn't an isolated case. Deprived of school, friends and family, hundreds and thousands of children are robbed of their childhood and forced to work in these nondescript dungeons across the country. Some are even forced to risk their lives in these rat hole mines to collect mica for a pittance. A report by UN agencies in 2020 said that millions of children worldwide are likely to be pushed to work due to COVID-19, due to job losses and rising poverty under lockdown.
Many children are out of schools, and in fact the whole of last 4 or 5 months they have all been in workforce, they've all been as child labour. I would think that at least 20% of children, this is it's an underestimation, have all joined the labour force in India, and it's true world over.
At the forefront of protecting child rights, the Satyarthi movement alone has rescued over 1 lakh children from the clutches of labour for the last 40 years. Children had no one to turn to and report the inhuman torture, mental trauma and physical and even sexual abuse that they were subjected to as they were locked up in these hellholes across the country.
When I was just 6 years old, I used to work in mica mines. I worked there for 2 years, and after working there, one day I was rescued from there with the help of Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation's activist, and then I was brought to Balashram. Right now I'm working as a molecular biologist. Balashram में रहते हुए मैंने बहुत सारे इंटरनेशनल प्लेटफॉर्म पे और नेशनल प्लेटफॉर्म पे जो है उन बच्चों को रिप्रेजेंट किया जो चाइल्ड लेबर हैं, जो काम करते हैं, उनको उनके अधिकारों को जो है मैंने वहां पर जो है ये डट करके अपनी बात रखी कि वो जो बाल मजदूरी अभी कर रहे हैं उनको जल्द से जल्द मुक्ति मिले, वो छूटे और बच्चे एजुकेशन को जो प्राप्त करें.
A Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation study on the impact of lockdown on rural households, especially children, conducted among 53 NGOs and rural households in 5 states last year revealed 89% NGOs feared increase in trafficking. 93% NGOs anticipated an increase in child labour. 76% NGOs highlighted the possibility of child trafficking for sexual exploitation. 20% respondent families considered withdrawing children from schools due to financial crisis. Taking note of the increased vulnerability of children, the National Human Rights Commission recently also issued an advisory outlining steps to identify, release and rehabilitate bonded labourers, especially child labourers during COVID-19.
1 lakh children have been rescued in the last 40 years by BBA, and they were rescued from across India in all the 20 states. Once we rescue these children, we follow them up in their native places, ensuring that they receive the common compensations as per the statutes. They are admitted into the school, those children who are below 14 years, and above 14 to 8 years, we try to link them with some kind of vocational training courses, and so that these children are not re-trafficked.
Nobel Peace Laureate Kailash Satyarthi spearheaded the global march against child labour, which culminated with children marching into the United Nations Assembly Hall in June 1998, resulting in the adoption of the ILO Convention 182 on the worst forms of child labour, including forced labour, trafficking and child prostitution. Children have to be rescued from the cesspool of child labour, abuse and exploitation without wasting a minute. Bureau Report, NDTV.
I'd now like to welcome Kailash Satyarthi on the show. Sir, it's such a pleasure and an honor to partner with you and your organization for this campaign. This is an issue that NDTV feels so strongly about. We've been reporting on this issue for years. Now, 23 years ago, you initiated the Global March Against Child Labour. What was your thought behind this initiative? Your efforts also resulted in ILO pronouncing 12th June as World Day Against Child Labour. Your organization alone has rescued 1 lakh children who are employed as child labour.
While the world is observing this Day Against Child Labour, and my organization is celebrating the rescue of over 1 lakh children over the last 40 years, I wanted to express my deep gratitude to all those who have put tremendous efforts in making this. I would also like to pay my tribute to 3 martyrs of my organization, Dhumdas, Adarsh Kishore and Kalu, who have given us tremendous power. We have realized that child labor is not a localized problem. Secondly, we also knew that the global policies and trade, import, export, and many other things have their own impact and consequences in developing countries in perpetuation of child labor. The demand of cheap labor in supply chain was resulting into employment of huge number of children in poor countries. So we could not solve the problem in isolation, or any country could not solve the problem. Thirdly, we knew that there was no international law against child slavery, bonded child labor, use of children for prostitution, and as child soldiers. We thought that why can't we build a worldwide movement to demand for such a law? So finally in 1998, we have decided to march across the world, and we covered 103 countries and 80,000 kilometers distance, demanding such an international law. I could still feel the goosebumps when millions of children on the streets demanded for such a law and chanted, "No more tools in tiny hands. We want books, we want toys. No more child exploitation, we want education." And when the group of about 600 children, most of them were survivors of child labor and trafficking and slavery, entered into the United Nations building in Geneva, we were all given the special status to attend and address the General Assembly, what they call the Annual Convention of International Labour Organization. So the voice of children was most genuine, powerful, and authentic. Governments could not deny their demand, and a resolution has been passed for an ILO convention, and within a year, ILO Convention on the Worst Forms of Child Labor has been unanimously adopted, and now I'm proud and happy to say that it has become the first ILO convention which is universally ratified. But that day, when I was given the podium to address the General Assembly of ILO, I made an appeal that at least one day should be dedicated to mark the issue of child labor. That was also agreed upon by all, and within 4 years, by 2002, they started observing this day as the World Day Against Child Labor. So the idea behind it was that we have to build a worldwide movement, because it was a non-issue that time in most countries. People have not recognized, neither the governments have recognized that child labor is a serious problem. We also knew that most countries did not have a specific laws against child labor. And my idea was that if we have an international law, then countries will follow it, ratify it, and they will make new laws against child labor. And we are happy to say that since then, the number of child laborers decreased considerably from almost 250 million to 150 million before pandemic.
No, absolutely. Such incredible work over decades, and that's why you were given the Nobel as well. Now, Kailash ji, after all these decades of work, now this COVID pandemic, it's wreaked havoc the world over. It's impacted children severely, from children being forced to discontinue school to children being forced to child labor. Children have been rendered most vulnerable, more than ever before. The risk of trafficking and sexual exploitation has also increased manifold. Your views on this?
I have been saying that COVID-19, the corona pandemic, is not only a health crisis. It's a crisis of civilization. It is not only an economic crisis. It is the crisis of childhood, freedom, and education for millions of children in the world. And I'm afraid to say that for the first time in decades, the world will see a huge increase in child labor. Millions of children will join the workforce. Additional children will join the workforce. Children who are not able to attend the schools, many of them were highly depending on midday meals. Many of them were highly depending on some conditional cash transfer schemes. Many children have lost their parents or the livelihood and jobs of their parents. They are already suffering, and many of them would be forced to join child labor, trafficking, slavery, or child marriages, child prostitution, etc. I can tell that during last 1 year, my organization, Bachpan Bachao Andolan and Kailash Satyarthi Foundation, have liberated over 7,000 children with the help of government agencies. And I was able to talk to a number of children over the telephone. One child said that his parents lost their livelihood. Another said that my father is under a trauma because he had to walk for miles and miles from the workplace somewhere in big city to reach to the home. Another children said that our parents could not find jobs when they went back to Mumbai or other places. And this way, it's very clear that these children were pushed into child labor and slavery and trafficking. And all these children were freed while they were being trafficked, or they have already been trafficked. And some of them were already working as child laborers in some factories in different places. So it's very clear that millions of children may be pushed into this situation, and that requires immediate SOS attention and action by all stakeholders, governments and non-governmental organizations and everyone. We knew that earlier, 150 million children were working in full-time jobs. To be precise, 152 million. On the other hand, almost 200 million children were out of school. Those who were primary and secondary school age children. And the third dimension is that world had 200 million jobless adults. And that makes a vicious circle of poverty, illiteracy, and child labor. And we have to break this circle. Unfortunately, the fourth dimension of health deprivation or the cracks in our health infrastructure have added to this misery and the vulnerability of children.
It's impacting the vulnerable the most. Kailashji, India is said to have around 10.1 million children in child labor. With their health compromised at every step, do you think the time has come to recognize the right to health as an intrinsic marker of our developmental goals going forward?
Absolutely. We cannot compartmentalize the issues of children as we used to do in India and elsewhere. Children who are working as child laborers, they belong to the families who are most marginalized and living in abject poverty. The same children are denied education and healthcare. The same children have no access to clean drinking water or sanitation and other things in the world, also in India. So we have to see and address this problem in a holistic manner. With more holistic policies. And that cannot be possible until and unless we make health as constitutional right, as fundamental right. When we started the fight against child labor, we have told, and for last 40 years I've been saying that you cannot eradicate poverty without ending child labor because it's a chicken and egg relationship. So this makes a vicious circle. Every single child is working at the cost of one adult job, and that adult could be her family member, adult family member, parent. So we have to break this circle. Similarly, education. How can you ensure education, which is the key for our development and growth and liberation and equality? But child labor is the biggest impediment in it. And now we are adding the health factor. Now it's very clear seeing this devastation and the failure of our health infrastructure that was so pathetic, one can never imagine what has happened. So this is the right time. We are asking that it should, the health should also be taken care of. So education, health, eradication of child labor, and our fight for development or against poverty have to go hand in hand.
Right. Now, you spoke about, what the government can do at the policy level and at the legal level. I want you to address our viewers, because despite the strong laws, there's this common understanding that because of extreme poverty, there's no alternative to child labor. What would you say to people who employ children, believing that the child has no other option? And what can we as concerned citizens do to prevent child labor?
First of all, we must realize that children are not responsible for poverty. They are victims of poverty. The poverty which we have created, and we are perpetuating it as wise, adult, powerful people. Children are victims. They must not be further victimized to become the bread earners or whatever. If so many adults are jobless, why we are not giving jobs to adult people and replacing children with the adults? So, replacing adults with the children, sorry. So this is one thing. And secondly, we have adequate laws. For example, right to education is a very good law. India's law against child labor is also a very good law. So we have to respect our laws and make sure that every child should be in school, not in workplaces, not in fields and farms and so on. So that is that has to be done. As ordinary citizens, we should also feel that we can play an important role. For last 40 years, I have, and my family and my friends, and now thousands of people and supporters in my organization, never touch a glass of water and never accept any hospitality of someone's place who employ domestic child labor. We don't eat or drink a glass of water in the restaurants where children are engaged. We are calling everyone. I make an appeal to everyone that please don't employ children as domestic help, but also don't accept any hospitality in those households or those families who are using child labor as domestic servant. We should not use those goods and those products. We should ask this question that whether this particular pair of shoes or clothes are manufactured by child laborers. And that will help in putting pressure on the companies and others. So as a consumer, we can play an important role. We should also ask our politicians, our elected representatives as the citizen of this great country, that what are you doing for those children in our constituency who are still working as child laborers? What are you doing for those children who are not in schools? These are some fundamental questions should be asked by a conscious citizen. So we can definitely play an important role.
So on this World Day Against Child Labour 2021, I want to know what is your key ask from the Government of India and for the world leaders and international community? Now, you had so passionately said in your World Health Assembly address recently that we move forward from the wreckage of the pandemic. Let us take our children with us.
How can you leave your children when you are moving forward? It is not possible. Think as a father, think as a mother, think as a sister. If they were your children, how can you leave them behind? So if we are going forward, moving forward, take your children with you. And that is very important. We are asking government, I have already urged the Honorable Prime Minister of our country, as well as I have written letters to every single parliament member during last 2 weeks and requested them that this is the right time that we have to make education, health as our fundamental right. Make health our fundamental right. This is a demand which I am proposing. We have fought for right to education. I recall those days when the governments and the opposition leaders in the initial years in late 90s and early 2000 mocked at me and said that India is not capable to amend the constitution and make education as fundamental right. But we have seen the progress India has made during last 15 years. So today I am saying that we can definitely make tremendous progress in health sector, in ensuring health for every Indian citizen if we make health as our fundamental right. And we have to rise above the conventional politics. We have to rise above the partisan politics. And today what we do as politicians, I'm calling our politicians that whatever you do today, good or bad, if you do bad, then children have to pay the cost of it. If you do good, then they will remember you that you were their saviors. So please make health as constitutional right of every Indian citizen.
Well, thank you so much, Kailash, for speaking to us. And again, it's just wonderful to partner with you for this campaign.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Coming up on the other side, we speak to two more crusaders against child labour, Sunita Krishnan, who runs Prajwala, and former top cop Amod Kant, who is the founder of Prayas NGO.
निकल पड़े हैं